and the relationship is slowly pulling apart, and there's emotional distress, and this leads to distrust and also isolation, and now you have a couple that's basically living like roommates.
Yeah.
Couples may experience the exact same circumstances, but how they process problems differ vastly. As these reactions to change collide, the atmosphere is combustible.
Yeah, and this is where marriage transitions may cause relational trauma. Trauma can be defined as any experience that's too overwhelming for the mind and body to process appropriately.
Yeah, and we discovered that long after the traumatic moments have transpired, we were still living out of the residual effects, like strings that are attached to the past.
Yeah.
Right?
And so how we interacted as a family, made decisions, or spent our money were present actions that were rooted in past traumatic experiences.
Yeah, and the aftermath of transitions mirror that of an earthquake, where things are shaking above ground because of all the brokenness that's beneath the ground.
Yeah.
Right? And our life circumstances are like the surface level. But below the surface, these fault lines are forming within the bedrock of the soul.
Yeah. So we believe that marriage fights of all kinds are like the building shaking as a result of fault lines within the heart. And so what typically happens is that we survive a quake from the past, but our current friction is the resulting aftershock.
Yeah, and time won't heal the wounds. This is something that we absolutely believe. Time won't heal the wounds. And what happens is we end up moving forward with baggage. And it's only a matter of time before your spouse rubs you the wrong way. And then, boom, there go the aftershocks.
Yeah. So emotional trauma may be triggered if you've experienced something like suppressing parts of yourself out of fear for your spouse's reaction, maybe getting stuck in reoccurring situations that you feel you can't manage.
Yeah. Now, identifying the fault lines in times of transitions. Okay, we're going to talk about this. Number one, you have normal faults. And this is where couples begin to pull apart after creating a relational valley. Basically, a couple's dysfunctional behaviors have become their new normal, and the relationship is slowly pulling apart, and there's emotional distress, and this leads to distrust and also isolation, and now you have a couple that's basically living like roommates.
Yeah. So the second one are thrust faults. It's where one person slides on top of the other after a collision. So as couple fights for power, maybe they're striving to prove one another wrong, they thrust themselves over the other, creating a rocky relationship filled with power struggles. And when unaddressed, future disagreements are like squirts of lighter fluid on a persisting flame.
Yeah, and then lastly, you have strike slip faults, where you're sliding past each other horizontally, but at some point, we've basically gone on strike. We've reached a relational impasse over differing opinions, and couples are slipping into opposite directions. You're arguing a similar kind of disagreement that you've had many times before, but still there's no resolution. Basically, you've virtually gone on strike, and a stalemate of sorts is resulting from seemingly being unheard, wronged, or in some way misunderstood.
Yeah, so the question is, how do you avoid earthquakes and the aftershocks altogether? Well, you have to start by mending the faults in your hearts through inner healing. Move together as one rather than rubbing against or falling beneath or rising above one another.
Yeah, so when your hearts are healthy, you can overcome the past and you'll move forward as a fruitful family with a successful future.